Welcome to Wines to Find. Our wines today are a 2021 Chateau, Haut, Sarthes, Bergerac, Rosé, and a 2017 Mas Champart, Causse de Bousquet, St. Chinian red wine. And I made a mess of the French, which is not good because we have a French guest. Our guest is Chef Didier. Chef Didier was born in Bergerac, France, but he relocated to the U.S. in 1996. He worked in many restaurants in the Chicago area until opening his own. In addition to busy days in the restaurant, he organizes trips to France focusing on food and wine. And now he's taking on a new adventure, online cooking classes. And we're excited, Wines to Find is, to be part of his first one on February 4th. And Chef Didier is here today to talk with us about that upcoming event, to share his story and his journeys, and just talk about these wines too.
Talking all things cooking and wine.
That's
Yay.
right.
Welcome, Chef.
To Wines to Find.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. That's really great. Very excited.
We are also. We can't wait to hear your history and your background and to learn what's going to be coming up. So we're pretty excited. Yeah. Before we get moving into that story, we do want to go ahead and start looking at this wine and smelling and tasting it so we can be sipping and talking.
And this is one that Chef sent to us. It's one that he will take on his trips. He takes folks to the estate. Mm-hmm. And this particular one, it says mise en bottle on estate, au Chateau, which means it was bottled at the estate, mm-hmm. on the Chateau. So that's something that you look for on the bottles coming from France. So we're going to learn a lot about this wine from Chef in just a second. But let's first look at it.
It is an absolutely gorgeous color. It's a pretty deep rosé color.
Salmon.
Very, very deep. And on the nose, very floral and lots of fruit already jumping out of the glass. It's pretty intense already. Mm-hmm. So
I'm excited.
Tell that.
Can we
go ahead and taste?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Santé.
Santé.
It's like a vacation in a glass, no? It's really beautiful.
Mm. Oh, the acid is very nice.
It is. It's got a little bit of that prickly acidity, and it's got some watermelon taste in there, too. Mm-hmm. Not just the strawberry. It's very lovely tasting. What are your thoughts?
I love it. That's very pleasing. That's very. It's not too sweet. It's kind of a really dry rosé that goes pretty much with any kind of food, especially seafood. But you can have it for desserts, or you can have it as an aperitif. Just when you unwind and start cooking, you can have a glass of rosé in your hand.
So we love a glass of rosé, and this one is a great representation of a French rosé. And so tell us a little bit before. First, I want to point out for the folks who are listening with the audio experience only, if you would jump on over to our Instagram or to YouTube, you can check out the video portion. And Chef set up such a great area that I have to shout it out. And what you can hear is he's sitting by the fire, and you can hear the crackle of the fire. So yes, you might be picking that up, and that's because he's sitting right there next to his fire, sipping on a glass of rosé. And I wanted to set that stage for our audio listeners. But anyway, so let's go back to that wine. And Chef, you are from this area, and this is in Bergerac, and this is where you take folks when you go on trips to France. You actually visit this estate. Is that correct?
That's correct. Actually, so this propriété, this wine maker, is pretty much on the edge of the Dordogne department, almost towards, very close, maybe 5 kilometers from Bordeaux. So the soil is kind of, he has a lot of clay, he has a lot of minerals, and that's what's reflected, in this wine today.
Okay, so it's adjacent to, so that's a value.
We are going to go to the winery when we go on the trip, and that's really something beautiful to notice.
And when is that trip?
So the trip is March 3rd to March 12th. So almost in a little more than a month away from now.
Okay, and you'll be taking people to wineries. You're going to this one in particular, or will you be going and visiting any others in that area?
That's correct. A lot of, Bergerac, but also we are going to go to Bordeaux. We start in Bordeaux, and we are going back to Bordeaux to see some wonderful different estates.
So I see there it says Bordeaux, Sarthes, Bergerac, Perregaux, Montbilziac.
On the poster?
Yes, I'm reading the poster.
Yeah, on the poster. Yeah. Yeah,
And those are all.
We also go to. We also go to Montbilziac, which makes more dessert, more sweet, wine that you have for desserts. Or
Okay.
foie gras.
Oh, okay. So it's a culinary tour, and it's paired with wine. So let's kind of tell folks about your life as a chef. You started out in France. And is that something that you always knew you wanted to do? How did you get into it?
I think the passion of becoming a chef, or at least a cook. I've been a cook for 40 years, and I think I came back from my mom, being passionate about cooking. And I gotta tell you, in France, we always dream about food. We always think about what are we having for tonight, or what are we having, tomorrow. So we always plan meals. And my mom, had a great way of cooking, and she had a garden. We used to raise our own rabbit, chicken, lamb. So really, I was very close to her and very close to what she was doing, and I think I take all that from her.
Oh, so your mom was your mentor, cook mentor.
Correct. Yes.
And how did you end up moving to the United States?
Well, that was a great, love story. I think every, French people are in love with America, and that's how I came. The owner who I came to work for actually came to France, where I was working at Bergerac, a wonderful Swiss Michelin star in the southwest of France. And they came to visit, and I showed them the garden, I showed them what I was doing, and obviously my English was pretty good, kind of maybe broken, but I was, and I always wanted to come to America. In France we have this idea of America being in a big country and the big trucks and the western and the cowboys, and I was really passionate, and I was never deceived. I never went back. And
Oh gosh.
almost.
Well,
40 years ago.
you're currently based in Chicago. There aren't too many cowboys in Chicago.
I found out. Yes, that's correct. I also found a wonderful woman, which I married, and again, I had one foot in the country. Then when I got married, I got my
Both
2
feet.
and never turned back and never left. And I do go back, like now, taking people to discover where I was born and all the food and all the wines. But Chicago is my hometown now.
Well, you said your mom kind of inspired you to cook since you were at her knee, learning and cooking on your farm and everything. Was there any special or specific wine that led you into really loving wine too?
Well, like the wine we have today, it's not a wine that we have every day because it's a classified wine. But now there's different kind of appellation contrôlée. That's like an AOC, and we drink at the dinner time. We were drinking what we were kind of producing on the farm, and that's pretty much that was not acceptable to get the AOC appellation, the Chateau label. So
More rustic, more like a true rustic homemade kind of, or a village quality, not the AOC.
yes.
But it's still, I'm still,
That's
I'm sure it was good. So, and
It was
you,
great, but
go ahead.
it was great, of course. It was a great wine, but more local, not that you drink, easily. That you can drink a bottle and you still can function.
You still can function. So, when you were at the Michelin star restaurant, what was your role there? Were you a chef there, sous chef, or what did you do there? And then when you came to America, were you hired on immediately as a chef at the restaurant that you went to?
Great question. When I was in France, I was a chef de partie. In other words, I was a chef of different specific area in the kitchen, and mostly I was on the grill, and I was mostly my dish was mostly grilling and smoking, fresh lobsters.
Oh.
So on the charcoal, on the wood grill, the lobster were getting the flavor of the smoke, so they were kind of smoky. So in France, the kitchen are very big. There's the chef, the sous chef, the chef de partie, the first chef de partie, the cooks. It is more, at different level than in America. And that's what I love in America, because there's more opportunity. As you know, you can be a dishwasher, and all of a sudden you can be a cook, and all of a sudden you can be a sous chef, and without even getting a specific, certificate, you can be a chef. And that's
Not
what I
as
love,
class oriented,
America,
it sounds like.
And ability to move around too a little bit more. So once in America, you do have your own restaurant. I'm assuming its specialty is French restaurant.
That's correct. Yes. Well, right now, I had, like you said, I came to Chicago in 1986. I worked for 10 years for different people in the area, and then I opened my own place with my wife, Jamie, in 1996. And we sold it in 2016 after 20 years of operating the restaurant. That was a bistro, kind of very close to down-to-earth cooking and using local vegetable, and a little bit that when you go to France, you get the flavor of a bistro, and that's what I try to duplicate here in America. But after 20 years, I didn't want to re-sign the lease. That's a little difference. In France, you own the business, but also the building. In America, you might own the business, but not the building. So that's what, after 20 years, my wife and I, we decided just to sell it to somebody and kind of enjoy ourselves.
Well, that was a good time, because a couple years later, COVID happened and things shut down. So that was probably a good time to not be in the restaurant business.
But now you are doing these. Yeah, now you and cooking as a first language have paired up with Foodie TV, and you're starting these online cooking classes. When did that idea come about for you?
I think it was at the same time that I wanted to do the cookbook. I want to share my knowledge. I want to share how we do things, because you can always, get a recipe somewhere. You can open a cookbook. But I think when you cook with a chef along, that's so much pleasurable. And I think he opened your eyes, he opened your heart, and he opened the way you feed yourself.
Well, I do agree that you can learn so much more just by watching and learning somebody actually doing it, because even whenever you were talking about the lobster and how the smoke was able to permeate into the lobster, those are some of the things that if you stop and think about it, you can kind of go, oh, okay, that does make sense. Or even I know I took one cooking class. It was not really a class. It was was like a dinner where we went and we did parts together, and there was a chef that helped to guide us, and a rag caught on fire as he was flambeing the pear, and he was like, oh no, he just threw it down on the ground and stomped on it and just kept on going, and we were all like, woo! But you could tell it was probably how calm he was, and it was just like okay, yep, this is what you do. And then you just keep on going. And one tip that he'd even told me, that you never cook with just plain water. You always want the liquid to be either like a broth or a milk or something like that. I didn't know I'm sure you have buku of tips like that.
Correct. You should not drink. You should not cook with water. You should cook with wine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we agree with that. Speaking of, let's go ahead and move on to wine number 2, which we chose a wine that, so the dinner that will be with cooking that we have the recipes available now. You want to go ahead, Chef, and say what we'll be cooking on February 4th?
The red wine, the Saint-Chinian, will be with duck breast.
Yes. Yeah. So
And
yes.
here, duck breast with some.
So that is the main course of the meal that we're having on the 4th. So that was why we selected.
So this is what, if people decide they want to cook along with Chef, they would purchase tickets and they would follow along through a Zoom class. And what are it's a 3-course meal. What are those 3 courses, Chef?
So the first dish, served with this wonderful rosé is poached pear with a walnut hummus and some burrata cheese. And then the duck with some savory root and other vegetables. And we will finish with the crème brûlée.
Yum.
Excellent. Yep.
And we'll be along in that dinner to talk about wine pairings, but we did select this Saint Chinian because we thought it would go well with the duck. So let's go ahead and talk about it. This is a Champart, and it is from that Saint Chinian. It is a non-designated. It's just red wine, so it's a blend.
Mm-hmm. All right. It is very deep and rich and dark in color. I can't even see my fingers through the glass at all.
Very opaque.
It is very opaque. And then the color has some red, pretty red, pretty deep red, burgundy almost.
Pulls a little red on the corners.
And then on the nose, it's got that good herbal quality to it.
With some juice in the back, like some big berry juice.
Let's go ahead and taste.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot taste it.
No, we're sorry. On the palate, it's got some tan. Go ahead.
That's a local wine that you find in where you are located.
So we have a shop we're in South Carolina. We're in Columbia, South Carolina, but we travel frequently to Charlotte, North Carolina. That's about just a couple hours away from us. And there's a shop there that the proprietor spent a lot of time in Bordeaux. And when we want good French wine, we'll go up there and kind of check out their selection. And we get a lot of our French wines from them. So on our last visit, this was one that we got from them. It's called Petit Philippe.
Very nice.
But we thought that this would pair well with the duck because we think that those herbs will really bring out the flavors in the duck and with the other things that you have in it. Because I noticed you have some garlic along with in your recipe too.
And this is a very it's an earthy red, but it also isn't very heavy. Mm-hmm. So it's on the lighter end, and with duck, even though it's a fowl. But it's not as light as, say, chicken. It does have a little bit more heaviness and a little bit more of fat and grease. It's good to have a red wine. And we had
we also thought that we could do a Burgundy, or if they are a little bit higher on the price point for you, you could always go down to Beaujolais because it still is that lighter bodied red wine. And we'll be discussing all that on the during the dinner as you're cooking. We'll be sipping.
Right.
Perfect. That's kind of a Saint-Chinian is near the Languedoc area. And Languedoc, I don't know, there's about, they say there's about 360 days of sunshine in Languedoc.
Very, very sunny. You can really tell in the way the fruit presents in this wine that it is very sunny, that it has a good bit of sun.
Mm-hmm. And we've had some former guests of ours. They were on 3 different times with us. They're called Princess and Bear, and she is an attorney, and he is they're both retired. He was a surgeon, and they retired, and upon retiring,
and they're Americans.
They're Americans, but upon retiring, they bought a home in France in the Languedoc region. and they go around and they find wines in that area and they bring them back here to America and they import and sell them here. So we got turned on to the St. Chinian area because of them. And when I saw this one, it was one of those that when I saw it at that shop, I went, "Oop, that's going in my basket," because we knew that we had enjoyed those wines from them.
Yes, and I really appreciate what you do, because the point of your broadcast and what you talk about is really to make people discover wine that are not specifically known. And people can go to a shop now and say, "Do you have a Chinian? Do you have a Bergerac?" And because that's a beautiful wine, and that's very important to not buy Burgundy or Bordeaux, who are expensive. Those little wine might not have the specification or the appellation or the price of a great, known wine, but at least to me, they are even as well or maybe better than wine that
we totally agree. It's those hidden gems that you really, that whenever, especially when they're adjacent to the regions, that they basically have the same, they basically have the same soil component that would create that flavor profile from the grape to the grapes and then to the juice, that it definitely benefits you to know those special little hidden gem regions for sure. So that even tells me, what other hidden gem could you give us a tip for cooking as a chef, that since we're talking about hidden gems?
In the southwest, there's a wine called Pécharmant, and it's actually even deeper, in color than the Bergerac. It's more, I would say, fruity, more, like a walnut, like a portobello mushroom, very, very thick and deep. It's called Pécharmant, like a charmant pea, Pécharmant. You have a Côte de Duras, you have a Bergerac. You have a lot of wine over there that, unfortunately, the problem is that if people don't know about it, they won't buy it. And if they don't buy it, it will not be imported. So we have to first, create the demand. People are going to demand the Chinian, or people are going to demand the Bergerac. By the way, all this Bergerac, all the line of Chateau, Haut, Sarthes, rosé, white, and red is available in Chicago at all the Beanies. That's a wine store that I believe they have about 32 shops, and they are all available because you guess it, I brought them to America.
Because you brought it, because
you created the demand for them.
I also connected, the importer to the distributor and to the stores.
Mm-hmm.
So that's especially now the red was not available, but now the red is also available in all the Beanies in Chicago.
Beanies.
And again,
so
that's 32 stores, so that's really a lot of stores. Yeah, Beanies.
That is a lot. And that's something that we hope to do at some point, is to create those connections and open up the knowledge basis, so that folks do, like you say, Bergerac is now an area that people know to go and ask for. And, do you have a rosé from there? Or maybe I want to try the white from there now, and kind of explore. And that's what we...
And that's why you taking people over to France is really such a big help, to expose them to all those wonderful wines that they may not have had an opportunity to even know about from their local shops, because maybe the shop owner doesn't know about it unless they had a Chef Didier saying, "Hey, go buy this wine." So
that's correct. I want to promote the area I was born from, because it is worth promoting. It's so beautiful, and there's a cave, there's a Lascaux cave, there's a Josephine Baker who has a castle over there. There's a lot of gardens, So this area is really rich in local treasures. Not only the wine, but also the truffles,
culture,
the mushrooms, the strawberries.
Oh, truffles.
Yes, truffles.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. What are some of the dishes? So we've got foie gras and truffles. What are some of the other dishes that might be experienced on this trip?
The cassoulet.
Ah, see, that's on my
Cassoulet.
list. I've never had it.
Yes. Something, completely, crazy, out of your mind. I'm sure you can't imagine. But the first Sunday, we are going to have, we go in a small town, Sarthes, that you saw on the poster, and we have a 14-course goose only. In other words, goose cooked 14 times.
Oh, wow.
That's unbelievable.
Well, I got foie gras. What are the other, how are the other ways?
Yeah, well, there's foie gras, there's the soup, there's the breast, there's a sausage made, from the goose. There's a pate made from the goose, there's some kind of almost like a mac and cheese, with goose. So that's limitless. You got to do it. You got to come with me.
We would love to.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That does sound
I
amazing.
guess if you just have to stop and think about it, then I guess then you'll have a wine pairing for each.
Well, of course, you can. Every course you have to have a different wine. So 14 courses, 14 wines.
That's what I was hoping you were saying.
And by the way, this trip is discounted at $2,800 for 10 days because of the cooking class and the shows that we are doing right now. I am looking about 7, 8 people, and so I take about 20 people. So to sell the seeds that are left, I discounted to $2,800 instead of $3,695.
Okay,
Wow.
so
Okay.
7 to 8 spots left at $2,800, which is about a $1,500, $1,200 discount from no, ish, yeah. So that's a pretty good deal.
So how often? So once we do this class on February 4th, how often do you expect to do future classes? Once a month? How often?
I think once a month. That's just great. Yes. Yes.
And the menu will vary.
Obviously, I kind of, I never did that, cooking classes, online. So I want to see how it works. That's just, I'm like a little kid in a candy store trying to see what's going to happen.
Well, like Michelle just asked, will the menu vary?
Of course.
So, and the third partner, so Foodie TV is one of the organizers of the online cooking class, but also Cooking as a First Language. And Lauren, who is the proprietor of that, she is in Alabama, I believe. And her business is, she is wanted to bring some of those other cultures that aren't generally represented in Alabama to her area. So she has a shop in Alabama where they cook different cultural, she has a different theme each month, and she would have people come into her shop and they would cook with a guest chef, and then COVID happened and she moved online as a result of that. So she's been doing since then virtual classes with those chefs, and then so Foodie TV kind of stepped in and connected all of us together. And that is this event that we have on February 4th is all of us participating. So you've got Lauren, who's done the online and has the expertise of that. You've got Didier, who's got the 40-plus years of experience as a chef and all the knowledge bases he wants to share. And then you've got Wines to Find here to help you with the wine selections. So what is the price of the ticket for the online class?
$25?
$25 for...
Yeah.
Okay, so
Very,
for 25 bucks.
Very affordable.
Exactly, right. And so you get all that information.
Not even the price of the bottle. Yes, not even the price of the bottle. By the way, the rosé is $7.99 in Chicago.
Okay.
Wow, that's a great deal.
It is a good deal. That's a very good price. The Saint Chinian is about $30 retail where we got it. So, okay. Is there anything else that folks should know about you or about the classes that you hope to hold?
No, I hope everybody to join. I think, like my mom used to say, I think life is too short to drink bad wines. So, santé again,
Cheers.
Santé, yes.
Santé.
Thank you for joining us, Chef. I am so excited to have the February 4th come and
I
do
am
this.
too.
Yeah.
I want to hear all the tips and tricks that Chef's going to spill during the class.
Well, and I already, in looking at the recipe that we have, the pureed celery, I was like,
Yeah.
oh.
Okay, well, don't give it too much away.
Okay. Well, yes, you get the recipes with the purchase of the tickets. So do that if you're interested. It'll be a fun time, and definitely go look up Chef Didier.
And it's also a great little Valentine too, if you have that in your thought process. I know people always like to give event kind of things, and it's close enough to Valentine's Day that would be a great gift.
Valentine's Day. Yep. All right. Well, let's talk about these wines. What did we think about
Yeah.
wine number 1? Chateau, Haut, Sarthes, Bergerac, Rosé.
It's very bright and light, and it just feels like you're sitting in France.
It does. Yeah.
It really does. I personally enjoy pretty intense rosés, so this is kind of in my wheelhouse, and it's very inexpensive at $7.99. I'm giving it a 4. I would definitely buy the bottle again.
I would at that price for sure. $7.99. That's a good
Well, and
deal.
the flavor,
And-
too.
Well, the price and the flavor together. Yes, that it's definitely.
And just in case you don't go on, well, what's a 4? We have our cork rating system. 1 cork is that you did not like it. You had to find the kitchen sink. 2 corks is that you enjoyed it, or 2 corks is where you are going to just finish the glass just to be polite. 3 corks is you enjoyed it, you thought it was good, and you'll have another glass. 4 corks is you will go and hunt out the bottle because you thought it was good. 5 corks is where you enjoyed it so much you are going to go buy a case.
Pretty simple. Mm-hmm. All right. So wine number 2, this Saint Chinian. What do we think about it? We had to have a big pause so we could each taste it again.
You do. You have to try it again just because it hits a little differently. I really do enjoy this. It's got some dark fruit notes, and it's light, and it's got that herbaceousness right on the background. It's pretty medium bodied, so I do think that this would go good with fowl. I'm giving it a 4 also.
I definitely
It's
think
really, really good.
Yeah, it's a 4, and it's a light, so you can go. It would be a nice summer wine or a hot day wine if you're looking for a red. If you're one of those that you're going to drink red regardless of the season, this is one that isn't quite so heavy.
That's what you
and
always
big.
have a hard time with. You can't usually do reds in the heat of the summer, but this here, it's light enough, but has enough flavor that it can hold up to a lot of different style foods.
Yes, and the flavor, it rides a very good balance between that herbaceous and fruit quality. That sometimes it's too much of one and not enough of the other, and I think it's got a good.
It's
nice
those
of
sunny
both.
days.
Yeah,
It
Lots
grew up in a sunny climate.
that's right. It's so good. All right, so we hope that you learned a little bit about some wines from areas that you might not have known about otherwise, that little value regions, and you even heard some correct pronunciations from Chef, not from me, on how to pronounce them. And it's got some exciting things coming up. We hope you continue to join us on Wines to Find. And if you did enjoy this episode, share it with that friend or family member that loves wine and is interested in food and wine pairings as you are. And we hope you'll join us next time on
Wines to Find.